The Overwatch team needs to slow down, or at least it needs to shift its release strategy just a little bit. It's no secret that the games industry is in a rough position right now, and we know Blizzard and Team 4 have been hit by some of those layoffs that hit Xbox and Blizzard. Today, I want to pitch to you guys ways I think the Overwatch team can shift their focus on releases, but still keep the game updated, new, and exciting, and give them all the time that they need to give us the quality that they want to, and that I think we deserve. Also, if you end up liking this video, you should subscribe. Okay, thank you. Keep watching. So, big, large, massive, huge disclaimer. Obviously, I do not know the interworkings of the content pipelines at Blizzard. Everything I'm going to say here is kind of all just educated guesses about the effort things take, how long they are. You know, they've talked about some of these things in the past about, you know, how long it takes to develop certain things. But again, am just kind of like guessing here in general, right? So don't take everything I say with like a massive like, oh, this is how long this actually takes in real time. It's more of just like, we know this stuff takes longer. We know this stuff takes a lot more effort. Some of this other stuff is probably a little less, you know, less focused that way. So that being said, I want to talk about pipelines. I want to talk about what we can expect from Overwatch 2, what the devs told us that we could expect. And I'm going to pull up something real quick. Let's see if you guys remember this. If you guys remember this image, this was from June of 2022, right after the Xbox showcase. Or there might have been some other showcase. So basically, after they had announced Overwatch 2's release date, after all of that, saying October 4th, this was the initial roadmap. Basically, you see, like, here's Season 1, you got the 3 new heroes, new maps, and then they have, like, this roadmap and everything. I'm going to keep this up just for a second, but I wanted to say that, remember what they told us in the beginning, right? There was an aim for this game that they wanted to have one hero every other, one hero every other season, and then in the seasons between them, they wanted to have one new map, right? That was the big thing that they wanted us to know. Like, this is going to be the consistent thing that you'll see every season. You'll get a new mythic skin, a new battle pass, all of that, right? That's the big thing that they wanted us to know about. Another thing to know that they told us initially is that they are aiming and want to put in one new competitive mode every single year, right? These are the big things that they told us at the beginning that they wanted to aim for a while. So let's talk about that initial roadmap, how they've been implementing it, how it's been going, and is it still sustainable, right? So let's start with the heroes, right? This is the big thing. Heroes and maps are the two biggest, like, parts of the game that are supposed to be the most exciting, the most hype, right? Heroes obviously first, maps coming second afterwards. So we're going to start with the heroes first. Heroes have been launching at what feels like less and less of what we expect in terms of, I don't want to say finishedness, because the heroes themselves are always all done and work properly, right? Like the heroes always come out in game to the same level that you would expect of any other character in the game. No hero has ever launched in a state that it's like, this character doesn't even look like their animations are finished, or, you know, like stuff like that, right? Like everything is done. What they have been launching though is that less and less they've had, you know, less skins, you know, they've had less voice lines, they've had less out of game stuff that tells us who they are, right? It's been kind of variable, you know, results vary, but, you know, with Venture, I think we've really felt that part of the extra part of the pipeline. You know, the hero themselves, Venture is great. I love Venture. But the other stuff surrounding it, the story stuff, the art, like, you know, skins and everything, they just aren't here. And it's not like they aren't going to get any skins. It's this that it feels like they aren't ready, right? Obviously, they have skins working for Venture, and they probably have more stuff. In fact, I think a comic just came out like 2 or 3 days ago starring Venture, giving us a little more into their lore and their personality and stuff, and that's great. But it feels like we didn't even get like a proper origin story for Venture, really. We don't really know much about this character, and I am a little afraid that we're gonna have characters come out more and more like this, where they're trying to just keep up with this insane content pipeline that they've told for us, right? When Overwatch 2 came out, and granted, like, they didn't have to keep the game running at the time, they were just working on Overwatch 2. We got multiple cinematics for new characters. Everybody launched with multiple skins. All of that, they were getting plenty of stuff. And, throughout the years, I say years because it's almost been 2 years coming up in October, we haven't gotten nearly as much per each new character release. I'm afraid of the trend that is, popping up here. And I would have to go ahead and, I can't say this for sure, but a lot of the lore team for Blizzard Overwatch 2 was cut in the layoff. So that is probably part of the factor about why we don't have some of this stuff. I'm just going to put this out here for now, right? Like, I want to talk about, like, this is what I've noticed about the heroes. And then when I'm done talking about the heroes and the maps themselves, then I'm going to go into, like, why this matters, what we can change, like, what I want to see, right? So let's go into the maps. Maps have actually been pretty consistent, with what they've said. If not, they've actually delivered more in those times than were promised, right? I think it ends up being like 4 maps a year is kind of like the average, with the new game modes being added, and they've kept up their scheduled pipeline. And then also when Ramatra came out, we got a new map, and then we got a new map the next season as well. So, and of course at launch we got all the new maps for Overwatch 2. So like they kept it up pretty consistently, pretty quickly. But actually, right now, we are about to be finished, granted, because Season 11 is about to come out, but we are on the end of an 8-month gap between new maps coming to the game. The last map we got was Samoa in, I believe, October, right? Now it's finally going to be June, when we're getting Runasapi, which is a new push map in Peru, which is very cool. Now, I just want to point this out because they were very consistent, but because of the new game modes coming out and everything, without having a new map in the mix there, they're working on them, right? They're working on new maps, but they want to have the new game mode come out with 2 maps at the same time. We did get the Clash trial, which did sort of help, but I really wish, maybe it wasn't ready yet, but I would have wanted that Clash trial to be between the, what's it called? But when we would have gotten an actual map, because it was just stacked on Venture's release, and it felt, you still feel the big gap between these things. The outputs of the map has been very good. New point here. The output of the maps has been pretty good, except for this one slot here. It's just the modes that they've been going into, I think, is the problem. Having only one new competitive game mode each year means that these map types, they're only launching with 2 maps at a time. And then we aren't getting new ones for those game modes quickly. I mean, Runasapi is the first new push map we're going to be getting since the launch of Overwatch 2, which means we've gone nearly 2 years at this point without getting another push map. And Flashpoint only has 2 maps, and Clash, I'm pretty sure, is also only launching with 2 maps. So I think, reusing assets has definitely helped a lot, I'm sure, with making these maps and keeping up with the pipeline. We definitely, should encourage them to keep making maps with the stuff that they, have done, like the assets that they already have. And some of these newer maps and game modes, especially Clash, very small maps, very, condensed and mirrored, probably much easier to develop for something, or than something, say, like Flashpoint, right? Very big maps, each point is distinct. Basically, the point that I'm getting about this is that if we want to have the quality of the stuff that we want, and not feel like we've been cheated a little bit, I think we need to slow down. I think Overwatch needs to slow down the big, substantial content stuff, characters and maps specifically. Um, for heroes, if they can't deliver everything that we would want from a hero within the 4 month pipeline, obviously heroes take much longer than 4 months to develop. But having so many at a time, you have to, the resources get expended and some corners have to be cut to make sure you keep up with deadlines, right? I think, if we get one every 4 months, that's 3 heroes a year. I think if we can't keep up the quality in that time, we should go to yearly rather, because I think it's fine to slow down. Even though heroes are the main draw of Overwatch, I believe it is fine to slow down a little bit and catch our breath, make sure all the heroes are up to the standard that we want them to be, and fill the rest of the year with other types of stuff to do, other different kind of updates. And I'll get into my ideas and things that we can do a little later. But for the maps, I think we should focus, I say we, Blizzard, there should be a focus, a general focus on new maps for existing game modes, I think one of the maps a year might maybe for the larger game modes like Flashpoint. Those maps are very hard to make, very big. Like a push or an escort map, something like that. One of those like larger, harder projects, and maybe one or two for the other modes that are smaller. And of course they can reuse assets, maybe make new ones, depending on that. I don't want to say again, I don't want to be I know what Blizzard does, but I'm saying I'm pretty sure it takes much longer to make a Flashpoint map compared to a Clash one. So let's make sure that we are developing, in a reasonable amount of time, in the pipeline, that we've got a Flashpoint map or a bigger map coming every year, so we don't leave those because we just keep pushing them behind the pipeline, because we want to make sure we get our faster ones going quicker and quicker to keep up with the content, right? Again, we can slow down a little bit and make sure that we have the resources to put in to fleshing out the map pool of these different game mode types, right? Now, I know this won't happen because they seem pretty gung-ho about it, but I would want to see a new competitive game mode every 2 years, or honestly, maybe we don't really need any more competitive game modes. I think the main draw of Overwatch is the maps, not necessarily the game modes. The game modes do keep it interesting a little bit, but at some point we're going to have too many to keep track of, in my opinion. We're already, we're on our, what's it called? We have Control, Hybrid, Escort, Flashpoint, Push, right? And then we're about to have Clash, so that's going to be 6, right? So I don't know. I feel like at some point it's going to be a little hard to keep up with all of them, make sure they all have the correct number of maps, for the game, right? I would also want, if they take 2 years between competitive game modes, that would ensure, at least I would think, right, that it launches with 3 maps. I think 3 maps is the minimum we should have. I think we've been okay with Push because 3 maps is a decent amount. But maps keep the game fresh, not the game modes, right? The game modes are fine and whatever. It's really the maps that are the bread and butter here, right? So, basically what I'm proposing here is that we slow down, right? We slow down everything, heroes, even maps, right? And we make sure we take our time and we get everything right. And we get the experience better fleshed out for all assets. So, what are we going to be doing in between, right? What are we going to be doing in these seasons where, when there's going to be other stuff, right? So, in my opinion, seasons, 2 months a season, great, right? It's a good amount of time, especially when you have a mid-season balance patch in the middle of it. Basically, every month the game gets shaken up in some, substantial way, right? Once a month, that's good, right? Other mini balance patches in between, also great. It's a good frequency. It keeps everything nice and updated. Every season having unique theming is also great, I think. But sometimes it does feel like some are a little better, and again, a little more fleshed out than others, right? Think of Season 5, which had that whole D&D quest line stuff. And then there are some seasons I can't even remember anything about them. The Hanzo season, the Japanese mythology. I can't even remember anything. Was there even a game mode, an extra game mode? I'm not even sure. Now, this is a hard challenge because as much as I want to say, like, just give us a season here or there with like a cheaper battle pass and maybe like no mythic or something. If you can't go like no mythic if they can't go the full 9 yards for everything, right? Again, like make the seasons that you want to put effort into, right? Like the big like drought seasons, right? Like between a no map or no hero. What if you had like a really all in on the battle pass season? I will say though, I don't think that those smaller battle passes or anything like the weaker ones will hold the interest long enough. But also, it's also like when a new hero comes out, why would you want to have a terrible battle pass or not a good theme for that season? You want to have like this big drop of stuff. Think about when Ilyari came out. That was Ilyari. That was Flashpoint. That was the PvE missions. It was a big, big event where all this stuff happened at the same time. And that was really exciting for Overwatch. But then I also feel like for the next couple of months, we felt the reverberations of the amount of stuff. Like that was right into the Hanzo season and the Orisa season. I'm calling them for the mythic skins. But I think we all kind of felt that the game was starting to stale out a little bit, even if Mauga came in the middle of that. And, Mauga kind of, we all know about Mauga, right? About how fun and interesting he made the video game. But basically that's the problem, right? We don't want to fall into these slump periods where we've put so much stuff in one spot and then we kind of have to just wait it out until, when was it? Season 9, the Moira stuff, which was really cool and exciting, and then obviously venture forth. Oh, and Season 9 was the big competitive changes and all that big stuff. So basically, like, how do we keep the game fresh during these times, right? Because I don't think Blizzard are going to change their strategy about giving us big stuff all at one time. And honestly, I think they're on to something there. That is definitely something that we shouldn't change. But how do we keep it up? Like, how do we keep it interesting, right? So I just realized there's been no Overwatch playing in the background. So let's change that real quick. Okay. I think the easiest solution to keep the game fresh is balance, right? It is something that you change a lot of numbers. You don't have to add assets to the game, all of that, right? They're already doing that, and it will always happen, So there's nothing much new to say there, although maybe a little, maybe being a little more aggressive. I wouldn't mind, more balance, more interesting balance changes. They've been doing that like Season 9 and then mid-Season 10. They've done some wild balance changes. I think more of those help keep the game fresh. Maybe not too much, just make it just like a whole shit show of you don't know when anything's going to change and the game keeps changing drastically every 3 months. Maybe tone it down just a little bit, but it does keep it fresh and engaging. Also, I think there should be more special timed events that don't have anything to do with the season itself, right? Think about like Lego Bastion from Overwatch 1, or think about any of the collab events where they just kind of take over the season for a second. Those are really interesting, like midpoints of the season where everything kind of changes, and now for the next 2 or 3 weeks, there's a whole new theme and a whole new thing to do, and stuff like that, right? I think a lot of the ones that are themed to the event should start the season like they typically do, because if they don't start the season, it does get a little confusing in my opinion, or just like muddled out about like when everything is going on, when they are like, when the new season starts. Let's take Mirror Watch for example. I don't think Mirror Watch started right away, but let's say we'll call that, the Moira one. That's the Moira season. The big stuff was like all the Eldritch Horror stuff and the Cthulhu, all the big stuff, and also the game mode launched right away. But that was like, to me, a better way to do it than how they did Mirror Watch, because then it was like, I think a lot of people expected Mirror Watch to be played right away, and they were trying to keep the season fresh, the theme of the season fresh in the middle of the season when everyone already kind of knew everything about it. And Mirror Watch was a really fun game mode, don't get me wrong. But for us to having to play that for 3 weeks in the middle of the season when it felt like something we probably should have had right away. Honestly, to be honest with you, I feel like this point has kind of been lost, and it doesn't really, I'm not really making much of an argument here, so I'm just going to kind of abandon this one. But basically, I would want extra events in the middle of the season to give it another like nice refresh something new and interesting to see rather than just more of the same, which isn't always bad, but yeah. Reworks. I think reworks are a great middle ground mini project, depending on the size of the rework, obviously, that keeps the game fresh, and makes new characters and interactions pop up without having to make whole new heroes, right? You can get reworks out of the door much quicker, relatively, than a hero or anything like that, and that is a great mid-season or slow season thing to have, right? Sombra rework, Roadhog rework, those were good things that happened in the middle of seasons that they hyped up, and I think were good. The Sombra one was definitely a lot more interesting than the Roadhog one, but it was a good thing that kept people engaged. And we've got more reworks coming. We know about Reaper, and Cassidy is going to be right at the beginning of this next season. This next season doesn't have a hero, so it's probably a good way to keep the season interesting. It's oh look, Cassie's got a mini rework coming. Now, and this actually doesn't just go for heroes, right? Map reworks are also great in the same regard, right? In fact, I think maps playing better and checking out to see what the new maps are and how they play now, it's really cool. When they reworked Gibraltar, I would think that was the most surprising fun thing for me that season, because oh sweet, Gibraltar is a map with a lot of pain points, and now it's I want to see how does this play now, is it going to be more fun? And it is more fun. There are also parts of Gibraltar that are not fun, but they've talked a lot about season 12 and onwards are going to be having a lot more map reworks. I totally agree with this. I feel this is also a really good easier way to get some more interesting stuff in the pipeline, into our hands, and getting us to play with new things all the time. Oh my god, excuse me. New things all the time. Less intensive than heroes, at least it seems like. And we can probably get more of them. Now, obviously, they will get exhausted. Reworks of heroes and maps will get exhausted eventually. We'll run out of them to rework effectively. So they kind of have to play their cards right here, but is definitely a good thing, and in my opinion, pretty necessary in the grand scheme of things. So that is also a great way to do it. In terms of more new ideas, I came up with, these are more wild, suggestion things about what are some other ways to keep things, nice and fresh while we're in between other parts of, other stuff, right? I came up with the idea of a free cosmetic weekend. So basically everything in the shop is available to use for 2 days, no matter if you own it or not. And then you finally have a way to try out stuff, to use all these skins you've never been able to use. Every skin will be able to be purchased, then and there, so you don't have to do all this waiting and hoping you're going to get it in your shop and all of this, whatever I don't even know how it kind of works, to be honest with you, but everything would be available. And this is kind of more of a way for Blizzard to make money, to be honest with you. But, I think a lot of people don't buy skins because they don't know what it's going to look like in game or anything like that. They have no way to really try them out and see what it's actually going to be. And this would be a good way to get people back in and be just go try the skins. It's going to be a whole new experience. You can try all these different emotes and stuff. Obviously, not a big effort thing, not that exciting at the end of the day, but I'm sure there are plenty of people who would, like to come back and be oh, this is a cool thing, and now you can swap skins, all the time, right? How you can swap while you're loading into maps and all of that. You can just, keep cycling through new skins. It may be, really interesting to just, see some of the new stuff, especially those shop skins, because they are so expensive. You do want to, hope you're getting your money's worth, and you kind of want to know that. Also, actually, the real suggestion I have here is please add a tryout feature in the shop for these items. People want to see what they look like from first person and also hear all the little sounds and everything of some of these, other legendary skins. Please and thank you, Blizzard. I appreciate it a lot. Okay, anyways. Another thing that they can do, this will technically take some time to develop, but once it's developed, they really don't have to do much anymore. There should be an in-game tournament feature that runs, a monthly or bi-monthly tournament series, so that there is something to look forward to, to more of the hardcore audience, especially your streamers and everything. Streamers I guess I am one of them, are the largest, most vocal crowd in this, world, and you do want to give them something to chew on and make them happy. So like once a month or once every 2 months, giving them like a big tournament to look forward to, or anybody. I mean, anybody could look forward to. Maybe they divide it by ranks and everything. That'd be really fun. Then you could give in-game rewards. I was thinking they could just give you currency, because you don't want it to just be like, oh, if you're not a competitive player, you won't get this stuff. Unless it's like sprays or something, but just like in-game stuff in-game to like keep your interest. Also, just putting in-game events when there are big Overwatch tournaments, also I think goes a long way, right? They do like the crowdfunding bundles and everything, but I feel like if there were like actual events that corresponded with the big Overwatch majors and competitive stuff, we would drive up interest in game and out of game. So like when you're watching OWCS, now there's stuff to get about it, and you'll want to boot the game up while you're watching. And then if you just play the game, now you see like, oh, maybe I'm going to go over to OWCS because there's these cool unlocks that I can do. And it's also playing live in my tournament client. Again, like that's another thing that they'd have to take some time to develop one time, but once it's there, then it's there forever, and it's going to take little upkeep and maintenance, which is a good way to keep giving us stuff forever, right? Solutions that require little upkeep and just one initial investment, I think, are what we are looking for, right? And then also, my last thing here is they should bring back content creator patches. Those were fun. Those are super easy. You just tell a bunch of content creators, like, get your little Discord of however many that you like, the 50 of them that you like. Tell them all to make their own patch, and then just over, the course of whenever there feels like there's a lull period, put flatses out for a weekend, right? And just try it out, right? Oh, there's a lull in the game. Okay, put Skietsi's out where she has her full Mercy rework or something like that. Like, just something fun like that. I think that's like a great way to just like hit this button in case of staling, right? If you have any kind of thing like that you can do, that's a great way to drum up conversation, to keep people coming back to the game, just something like that. And also it connects you to the community, and that's a great way to just drive interest for Twitch creators. Like, oh, who's this creator? I like their changes. Stuff like that. I feel like that's just mutually beneficial for everything. That's my list. That's everything I've got here. If you guys, this was a very long-winded video. I want to just say at the end here, the idea for this video initially was that Overwatch needs to slow down and give us the, what we kind of deserve. And I do think that's true, but it really did kind of evolve into this. How do we keep Overwatch from getting stale while being mindful of the resources that they have, and, being, we have to, know at the end of the day that the games industry, again, is not in a great spot right now, and things take a lot of time to develop. So basically, where are the solutions that we can keep things fresh without too much development time and resources, right? So that we can devote those as much as possible into the things that really make the game special and fun, right? That was kind of the idea of this video. So with that being said, how do you think I did? What do you like of my suggestions? What suggestions do you have? What would you like to see more often in this game to keep it, fresh and new, right? I do really like to hear back from you guys. This is a discussion at the end of the day. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, any of that good YouTube stuff. It does really help me out at the end of the day. If you want to get in on these discussions live, that's going to be twitch.tv/LaneHemingway. I try to do a discussion every single time I go live, or at least the streams that I plan to go live. And then also, if you have any hot takes or rework suggestions or anything like that, anything related to this as well, join my Discord. It's down in the description below. I have plenty of channels where I'll react to some of your guys' feedback and some of your guys' ideas, because I think that is really interesting. In fact, I'm about to film another one about just that right now. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day.